after getting its first shutout victory in 2 years. We're back. We're back during the week of the bye week on the hottest show on the streets, the number one forum for Crimson Tide football news on a Monday. In my own words, with yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, appreciating everybody for tuning in to the number one forum for Crimson Tide football on this evening. We got a lot to break down, get to discuss, talk about tonight as though the Crimson Tide on the bye week, we are team no sleep at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, giving you nonstop Crimson Tide football 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and bringing it to you in the most entertaining form that we know how. The show is brought to you by WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That is WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. If you haven't done so, go ahead right now and copy that four-finger bling necklace showing that support to Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide program. As Alabama owns the fourth quarter, it's the tradition that it dominates the fourth quarter. So be sure to copy that four-finger bling necklace, that four-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. But as always, we're bringing you the show from Tuscaloosa, streaming this live through YouTube. Speaking of a channel, go ahead right now, give a thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, and turn all of those notifications on so that way you can have the best in news, notes, information, and alerts on your Crimson Tide. Not only are we streaming this to you through YouTube, but we got you covered here on Facebook. So all my Facebook people out there, streaming to you guys, to all my Twitter people out there, streaming to Twitter as well. So we have you covered here on the YouTube, the Facebook, and the Twitter. But we want you guys being a part of tonight's show. Don't let this night go by here without letting your voice, your comments, your opinions, your thoughts be heard. And you can do this by calling 205-448-1358, the number to call or to dial to let your voice be heard, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. No guest tonight, just me. Just pure Stephen M. Smith from start to finish. As always, happy to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the maestro in the production studio. None other than my man, John Ivory, doing his thing. But as always, once again, we want you guys being a part of tonight's show. And we start the show with a small update here. How about Devontae Smith and Najee Harris, both guys advancing on the all-time career boards here for the Crimson Tide? Devontae Smith, after a huge performance against Mississippi State, Smitty now 174 career catches, that's fifth all time, 2,868 receiving yards, that's third all time, 31 career touchdowns. He is tied with Amari Cooper for first all time in Alabama history. He'll have a chance to take the touchdown record from Coop when Alabama takes on those LSU Tigers next week in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But that's just Smitty. When you look at Najee Harris has joined the prestigious, the elite, the esteemed 3,000-yard club. Najee Harris, a career 3,091 yards rushing. He's got a whole bunch of names ahead of him, which include guys like TJ Yeldon and Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and Kenneth Darby and Bobby Humphrey and Sean Alexander, not to mention the leader, Derrick Henry. So there's a lot of guys still ahead of Najee Harris when you talk about being the all-time career rushing leader. But Najee Harris, eighth all-time. He's in that elite 3,000-yard club. He's got 34 career rushing touchdowns this season. Still tied for his career, Still tied for sixth all-time with the great Johnny Musso. Now, Najee Harris he needs 500 yards. Needs 500 more yards to tie Derrick Henry for first all-time. And he's got an opportunity to do this especially with Alabama having 4 regular season games left. If Bama gets into that postseason, you have the SEC title game, also the college football playoffs, so potential for 7 games left for Najee to catch Derrick Henry. But just a little bit of an update there on Devontae Smith and one Najee Harris. But we now get into topic number 1 here of the conversation, folks, and for traditional Alabama fans, for Alabama fans that believe defense still wins championships, defense is still king, defense still reigns supreme, you have to have an elite defense in college football. For traditional Alabama fans, you guys left the stadium on last week, Halloween night, Nick Saban's 69th birthday. You guys left Bryant-Denny with the biggest smile on your face, because for the first time in 2 years, for the first time since the 2018 season, Alabama pitched a shutout, won 41-0 over Mississippi State, and won Mike Leach. And for a lot of you, the issues were what's going on with the defense. Would Alabama ever get back to having that defense that can shut opponents out, that can shut opponents down, that can really tackle, that can show those traits that we have become so accustomed to seeing, with the exception of the past couple of years or so? And you guys left that stadium after the game against the Bulldogs going, I knew Bama still had it in them. I knew Nick Saban could still do this. I knew this team was still capable of shutting teams out, of shutting teams down, of really taking the opposing team's offense out of its element. I knew this group could still play to that caliber of excellence, and it was huge for Alabama to do this. Now, for a lot of people, it was pump the brakes. It's Mississippi State. They were trash. They had nobody on the field. This is not really a win or a shutout to get excited about. Yes, Mississippi State did not have a lot of folks in the field, but Mike Leach is still one of the OGs. He's still one of the originators of air raid, spread them out, space offense. And in his 19-year coaching career, he has never been shut out before, whether it was at Texas Tech or Washington State. Now he's, of course, with the Bulldogs and the SEC. He has never been shut out before until he met this Nick Saban defense at Alabama with Pete Golding under the tag of defensive coordinator, and Mike Leach couldn't do a darn thing against this Alabama defense. So to shut out Mike Leach, a guy who's never shut out, still a pretty big deal here for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I don't know what was said in that fire and brimstone / come to Jesus meeting that the players and the team had following the Ole Miss game. I don't know what was said. I don't know who said the magic word, term, phrase, sentence. I don't care to know what was said. It doesn't even matter to me what was said. All I know is whoever said something, whether it was Nick Saban, whether it was an assistant coach, whether it was a player, whoever said something, kudos to you, because it worked. And ever since the Ole Miss game, Alabama defense has combined for 8 shutout quarters. 8. It shut out Georgia in the second half. It kept Tennessee off the scoreboard in the first and fourth quarter. And it had a complete game shutout of Mississippi State. And what's more impressive than shutting State off the scoreboard is the amount of total yards that Alabama gave up. Normally, a Mike Leach offense would at least get, 500 yards, if not more. Through 3 quarters of the game, Alabama held the Bulldogs to 106 total yards. Now, they eventually got to 200 when the 4th and 5th stringers got in, but for 3 quarters, Alabama held State to 106 yards of total offense. Now, there were 3 different aspects that I come away with from this game for Alabama's defense. The first of the 3 aspects, how about the tackling in this game? For the first time this season, I'm seeing guys break down, wrap up, make form tackles. I mean, they really got the gist of the tackling drills in practice throughout the week. Nick Saban finally got the full cooperation from this team in the tackling drills this week, last week, because the guys broke down, they tackled in space, they wrapped up. Bulldogs got no yards after contact, no yards after catch. There was a lot of gang tackling going on. I don't think there was a single missed tackle, and if there was one, I was not paying attention to it, because that's how good the tackling was in this matchup. I mean, there was one play in particular that the running back for State, Jaquavius Marks, Christian Harris has him by the ankles, and he tries to escape, and all of a sudden, Malachi Moore comes out of nowhere and rocks the guy. So really good tackling there from the Crimson Tide. Number two aspect I was very happy with was the pass rush by the defensive front. The group of Byron Young, and Phidarian Mathis, that group did a fantastic job. And as much as I like DJ Dale, and I do, he's a good talent, young talent. As much as I like Justin Boydby, he's a good talent, young talent. But the group of Mathis, Barmore, and Young, you talk about a tangible energy those three have on the field, the quickness those three have, the excitement those three have, the motor that those three have. They got after KJ Costello and Will Rogers all night long. Those two quarterbacks did not have a chance. KJ Costello had to leave the game due to a concussion. Hopefully he's okay. Will Rogers was intercepted twice in the game. The pressure was coming from everywhere, but it started with those three young men of Barmore, Byron Young, and Phidarian Mathis up front. Those three played their butts off, really kept that pressure going. And if I'm Coach Saban going into the LSU matchup, as much as you want to work Brian Ray back in, and he does, as much as you want to see DJ Dale back on this front, and like I said, good talent, as much as you want to see Justin Boydby as well, if I'm Saban, I do not pull Byron Young out. You can't afford to do it. I do not pull Byron Young out. I do not pull Phidarian Mathis out. I do not pull Christian Barmore out. Because when they have Barmore at nose, pressure, getting to the quarterback. Same thing with Young and Mathis there on the edges. And the third thing that really stood out to me in this matchup, folks, how about the freshmen? I understand we're all excited about the 2021 class coming in. That's got Dallas Turner and JaQuincy McKinstry and Ian Jackson, and provided if all these guys sign. I know how excited we are, I myself included, about the 2021 freshmen. But these freshmen playing right now are some dogs. I mean, I've mentioned this before. This group is either move or get out the way. It's either play or get out, because we here. And in this matchup, Malachi Moore led the team in tackles with 8, had 2 or 3 pass breakups, really played well. Brian Branch, I was told by sources this whole time that Brian Branch was working all week in practice, either at safety, either at nickel, either at dime, and Alabama wanted a situation where it could have Moore and Branch on the field at the same time. There was one point where Coach Saban talked about, well, we got more guys we can trust in nickel than in dime, so I guess we'll play more nickel. Nick Saban threw all caution to the wind. He played exclusive dime the whole night against the Bulldogs, and man, Brian Branch was all over that field, eating it up. 7 tackles, half a tackle for loss, 2 pass breakups, almost had 2 picks, and would have taken both picks back to the house, but 2 pass breakups there for Brian Branch. Will Anderson is so close to his first sack, the brother can taste it. There was one point in the game where I was looking at KJ Costello going, can you just be still so Will Anderson can sack you already? Because he's so close to that first sack. Had 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hurries for him. Jamil Burrows played well. Big Tim Smith had a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. These freshmen played a huge role in shutting out Mike Leach for the first time in his 19-year career as a head coach. So, once again to me, I don't know what was said in the team meeting, in the Come to Jesus meeting. I don't know who said what, but whoever said what needed to be said, kudos to you. It worked. Alabama defense, since the Ole Miss game, playing a whole lot better. 8 shutout quarters, shut out Mississippi State, and coming into this bye week, as we're in the bye week now, you got to feel real good if you're a Bama fan. You left the stadium over the weekend going, I knew this Bama defense still had it in them to pitch a shutout like this. And big job there for Coach Saban and the Crimson Tide getting the shutout victory over the Bulldogs. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. We're just getting your chest warm here on a Monday. When we get back, we entertain your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your text, your super chats. Bring them on in here after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwill Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson. Only $9 and it lasts. Time. Head on over to will.com and get day.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We are back into the action here, folks, on a Monday. Hottest show on the streets, number one form for Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Coach Saban and the gang on a bye week, but we don't rest here at TDA. Definitely team no sleep, providing you with Alabama football news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and doing it in a way that's as entertaining as humanly possible. So appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show on today. And before we jump to the phone lines here to take your calls, it's the call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, the family that is the Blue Wrench Gang. We have a super chat to shout out here, and it goes to Spencer Revley. Spencer Revley donating that $5 via the super chats, helping us out here on Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But 205-448-1358, the number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. We take a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Hey, man. How's it going? Robert from Mobile.
Doing good, man. How you feeling, Robert?
I tell you, Stephen, this is the first time in a long time that I felt the Alabama defense actually outperformed the offense. I hadn't seen that, and I can't remember the last time I saw a game and thought, oh, yeah, defense actually outperformed the offense in this game. But finally, they actually did it. And Mississippi State was tailor-made for this team to be able to do this defense to dominate. So they got to have the worst offensive line in the SEC. Mississippi State does. And when you saw Kentucky hold Mississippi State to 2 points and put pressure on the quarterback, it was like, okay, guys, if you don't put pressure on this quarterback in this situation, I'm going to be greatly worried. And like you said, they did. Not only did they get sacks, but they got pressure. The quarterback was running for his life all night, and it knocked the first quarterback out the game. And that's how dominating they were in that game. And the offense, it wasn't the well-oiled machine that it normally is, but you're going to have those games. I mean, and it's a good thing. I'm glad we got it out of our system already. So there's going to be one less than perfect game for any offense or defense. And so we got it out of our system, and they still managed to dominate. Even with Mac Jones, a little off. And for Mac Jones, he was still, 77, almost 70, over 70% for almost 300 yards, despite being a little off. Because some of the passes to Devontae were a little short and, a little short, underthrown. So Devontae had to wait on it. But so that kind of threw everything off a bit. And like Nick Saban said, Mac Jones would also say his game wasn't quite on Saturday. But because the defense was so dominant, finally we saw a great dominant defense. And man, what can you say about Devontae Smith? I mean, the guy has gone beyond. If all he did for Alabama was 2nd and 26, that would have been outstanding in and of itself. But the guy is putting up numbers to become the best receiver in Alabama football history. I mean, the guy, he's gone beyond 2nd and 26. And if that was all we knew him for, that would make him an Alabama legend. So the guy is just beyond good right now.
I mean, he is, and it all goes back to the conversation that I had with Cam Sims back in 2017 at the open practice. And I never knew that Cam Sims was going to take me right to Devontae Smith. I thought he was going to point at maybe Jerry Jeudy, maybe Henry Ruggs III, but I'm talking to Cam Sims those few years back, and I asked Cam, I said, Cam, look, if you want to get the ball to Calvin Ridley, but Ridley was not available on this play, who's the next guy you trust? And for him to take me to the other side of the field and direct me to Devontae Smith and say, Steven, that guy right there, Tay, that's the guy. For him to do that, Cam Sims knew from the jump that at some point this young man was going to be special. So, as always, I always got to give the credit to Cam Sims because Cam Sims told me.
Think about the LSU situation. Again, the one team that made Mississippi State look good was LSU. And then they make Auburn look like they're ready for a national championship. That LSU so is that bad. I mean, I was not expecting this great of a drop-off after Joe Burrow. They're looking like Auburn after Cam Newton, or even worse, possibly even worse than Auburn after Cam Newton, if that's possible.
This is what happens when you lose so many players and you don't know how to reload, or you never have to do this. This is a hard job. Nick Saban makes it look easy because he's done it so many times that it's become expected for Saban to reload. But for LSU, you lose 14 to 16 or X number of players to the draft. You lose so many players to opt-outs. You lose two really good coaches that basically propped up Ed O. And now he's looking like, what do I do now? Because he's never been put in the situation. He really doesn't know how to reload. So LSU is seeing how tough it actually is to do this every year. Bama just makes it look easy. But, Robert, we appreciate the call, man.
Catch you later.
Absolutely. It's hard to reload. Saban makes it look easy, people. He really does. We got some super chats to shout out right now here on the show. How about Roll Tide and Rise Up? Roll Tide and Rise Up, giving us that $10 there. Via the super chats, Roll Tide and Rise Up, that $10 there. Appreciating the love there from him. Once again, folks, 205-448-1358. The number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. How about one Malachi Moore, the true freshman from Hewitt-Trussville High School, just outside of the Birmingham area. Malachi Moore, his second weekly honor, being named SEC Freshman of the Week. His first weekly honor from the conference came after the Texas A&M game. He got a second one after the Mississippi State matchup. Moore, once again, 8 tackles, had 2 pass breakups all over the field, played a big-time role there for the Crimson Tide out of that nickel package, and also for the Alabama coaching staff. It recognized 18 players of the week. Offensively, it was Devontae Smith and Evan Neal. On special teams, it was Will Reichard and Jace McClellan. But Nick Saban decided to recognize the entire defense. That's how you know the defense was on point. When Nick Saban said, I'm not going to pick and choose, I'm going to give it to all y'all. So he gave it to the entire defense. We still have not seen the Dylan Moses game yet. He still has not hit that point that he's supposed to hit yet. We still have not seen the first-round pick Dylan Moses that he's supposed to be, or we expected for him to be this upcoming year. But so far, it has not resulted in Alabama dropping a game. But still holding Dylan Moses to a standard. When you're in a position that Rolando McClain played, and Donta Hightower played, and C.J. Mosley played, and Reuben Foster, and Reggie Raggett, and all these big dogs that played all of these years, there's an expectation and a standard. Dylan Moses, you got to hit that standard, young man. You got to hit that standard at some point here in this season. But be sure, guys, to call back in that second call segment. We take a break right here on the show. When we come back, we discuss the new leader of the Heisman race, one Mac Jones. Really? Yes, one Mac Jones after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We're back in, folks. We are back in from the break to the action here on the hottest show on the streets, number one form for Crimson Tide football news in my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciating everybody for tuning in to the show on today. And be sure to give a thumbs up. Be sure to give a thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, and turn all of those notifications on so that way you can have the best of news, notes, and analysis on your Crimson Tide. But now, we can look at the new leader, the new frontrunner, the new face of the 2020 Heisman Trophy race. No, it's not Trevor Lawrence. It's Mac Jones. Mac Jones of Alabama, the new leader, the new frontrunner, the new top candidate here for the Heisman Trophy race for this season right now. And an article came out today, according to ESPN, that Mac Jones has become the new leader here in the Heisman, especially according to a couple of betting sports books out there. When you talk DraftKings and FanDuel, Mac Jones ahead in DraftKings, and then Mac Jones along with Justin Fields of Ohio State are like co-leaders in the FanDuel side. But Mac Jones, new leader here in the Heisman Trophy race. And what impresses me the most about Mac is his mental toughness. And there are moments where he may go through some frustration. He'll battle some frustration. There are moments, of course, where Alabama's offense may not come out of the gate hitting on all cylinders the way it needs to. But Mac always finds a way to put the frustration behind him, shrug it off, not let it get to him, and continue to lead, guide, and pace this team, so to speak. I go back to, remember the Texas A&M game where he had an interception in that game, could have let it got to him, did not let it get to him, picked himself back up, kept playing ball, had over 400 yards passing in that matchup with 4 touchdowns. And then there was the matchup against Georgia where pressure got to him. One of the offensive linemen did not pick up a blitz assignment, and Mac Jones gets hit as he's throwing the ball. I still don't think Richard LeCounte made the interception on the play, but it was recorded as an interception. Jones did not let that get to him. He shrugged it off, went back out there, threw for 417 yards, 4 touchdowns to knock off what was at that point the number 1 defense in college football. And then, of course, against Tennessee, 2 weeks ago, first play of the game, Jalen Waddle gets hurt. Anybody else would probably hit the tank when one of your electrifying receivers gets hurt, not Mac Jones. He gets everybody together, goes out there on the field. I think he was 25 for 31 passing for 387 yards, almost another 400-yard day, and Alabama won the football game. And even on last week, Jones was a little bit off throwing the ball. I got from a couple of close sources of mine, with the team deep inside the program here, that the issue with Mac, it wasn't anything mental in the game. It was he suffered a slight ankle bruise in practice. Had a slight ankle bruise in practice that week and decided to go on that ankle. So you see kind of the warrior mentality there of a Jones, just how he was not able to really push on his throws and get into his throws the way he normally does, and that was because he had the ankle bruise there, but decided to still play on it, still go out there, push through it, battle things out. And you've got some NFL quarterbacks out there that if they, are not on the same page with their wide receivers early on, they get into a mental funk, and it's hard to pull them out of it. You got some NFL quarterbacks out there that when they get hit with pressure, they get sacked, they get harassed, they go into a mental zone, a bad mental zone, and they can't pull themselves out of it. You got NFL quarterbacks that they lose their best receiver, they go into a zone, a bad one, and they can't get out of it. So the mental toughness that Mac Jones has to, no matter what goes on negatively, I can find a way to shrug it off, throw it off, get back out there, and play big-time football. If I'm an NFL scout, if I'm a coach, if I'm an owner, if I'm a general manager, those are some of the boxes that I'm looking at in terms of drafting a quarterback. Of course, everybody goes, well, we want the big-time talent. Trevor Lawrence is a big-time talent. Justin Fields is a big-time talent. The kid from North Dakota State, Trey Lance, is a big-time talent. That's what we want. We want the big-time talent. So I understand. And it's great to have big-time talent. But at the same time, you want to have that talent that's also got the mental toughness that can deal with everything being thrown at them. Some guys have the talent, but no mental toughness. For example, you look at Baker Mayfield right now. Baker Mayfield had the talent coming out of Oklahoma. Yes, he did. And Lincoln Riley had him in an offense that was successful. Oh, yes, he did. But Baker Mayfield in the NFL, if something goes bad, if something goes awry, Baker Mayfield goes into a mental funk, and it's a hard time getting him out of it. You look at Sam Darnold, the same thing. Sam Darnold was a big talent at USC. Yes, he was. But now with the Jets, you get him in a situation where he doesn't have his best receiver, or he gets hit under pressure, or he makes a bad read, or he makes a bad play. His mind gets lost, and you're having some weeks trying to place, okay, where is Sam Darnold? So there are some NFL quarterbacks right now that when things do not go their way all the time, their mind goes off in the left field, and it's a devil of a time trying to get them reeled back in. So to have a guy like Mac Jones it doesn't really matter what happens, he finds a way to play through it, to play through the pain of a bruised knee, or to play through the pain and the frustration of not having Jalen Waddle out there, or to play through the frustration of, getting hit and having to get back up and still go. For him to have that mental fortitude, that mental toughness that Coach Saban talks about on a continuous, consistent basis. If I'm an NFL scout, if I'm an owner, if I'm a GM, if I'm a coach, here's a guy I'm circling, what round can we get this Mac Jones kid in? He's first-round talent. What am I talking about him? He's first-round talent. So that would be a guy, just me speaking here. If I was operating the team, that would be a guy that I would look at where my scouts are concerned, get me some information on Mac Jones. Get me some intel on Mac Jones. Get me the 411 on Mac Jones. What makes this dude tick? Because I'm watching him get hit. I'm watching him, lose an electrifying receiver. I'm watching him go through, some frustrations at times, but it doesn't get to him. He's still out there whipping the football. He's still out there making plays. And when you talk about the NFL, a league where people get paid top dollar to halfway kill you, and he's still getting up, doing his job, get me the 411 there on Mac Jones. But that's just me if I was a GM, scout, coach, anything of that vicinity, anything of that nature. But he is right now the new leader here of the Heisman Trophy race. Jones against the Bulldogs, 24 of 31 passing for 291 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. This season so far, through 6 games, he's completed 78.5% of his throws. That is first in the SEC and 4th in all of college football. He's got 2,196 passing yards. That's first in the SEC and 3rd in college football. 16 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got a passer rating of 210.32. That is first in the SEC and 3rd in all of college football. He's averaging 366 passing yards per game. That's first in the SEC and 3rd in college football. And of course, his QBR, whether it's a 95.5 total quarterback rating, which is the adjusted quarterback rating, of a 93, quarterback rating, which is the raw rating. He's first in the SEC in both categories and 2nd in college football. So you can see the young man is having an incredible year. You put his numbers against Joe Burrows from last year through the first 6 games of the SEC. Mac's got the better numbers there. Same thing when you look at Trevor Lawrence. You compare him to Mac Jones's numbers through the first 6 games. Through the first 6 games, Mac's got some higher numbers there than Trevor Lawrence does. And what's crazy is the fact that you have so many people who are shocked right now by how well Mac is performing. They're shocked right now. Me, not shocked at all, because when he took over for Tua Tagovailoa last year, of course he came in, had some nerves there, and we all would have nerves if you're asked to come in to replace one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the program in Tua. Tua goes down with the ankle first against Tennessee, and then the hip there against Mississippi State. But, Mac played well against Arkansas last year, played well against Auburn last year, played well against Michigan in the Citrus Bowl to end the 2019 season. And to come in this year, a lot of people felt like, well, he's not going to be able to do it. He can't be what Tua was. He doesn't give that type of a same spark. And to see him defy all the expectations that were placed upon him, and see him defy all the naysayers, all the critics, all the doubters, they're just in utter shock, disbelief. They are dumbfounded right now. You got a lot of dumbfounded critics with their mouths wide open right now, because they cannot believe for the life of them that Mac Jones is performing the way he is. And like I mentioned, battle-tested guy, leading the Heisman race right now. I'm proud of him. And if I was an NFL GM, scout, owner, this would be a guy that I would look at here in terms of the 2021 draft as a first rounder, because he's got that mental fortitude, that mental toughness, that ability to not get fazed, not get rattled, not dwell on negative stuff when it happens, just continue to push forward and lead his football team. But we take a break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, because upon our return, we continue with your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your texts, your super chats. Let's have a conversation on the other side of the break after this.
If If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, we are in here on a Monday. How to Show on the Streets, #1 forum for Bama football news. In my own words, with your man, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Crimson Tide on a bye week this week, getting rested up, healed up, but no bye week for us. Team No Sleep here. Giving you full-on Alabama football news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out the year in an entertaining fashion. We appreciate you guys tuning into the show on today, and we're going to go to the call line right now, 205-448-1358. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. You're live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
What's up, Steven? How you doing, man? This is Sean from Huntsville.
Sean, what's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much at all. Wanted to call in, man, and give a couple of prayers to the young man from Georgia, Richard LeCount.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, man. Never want to see anybody hurt like that, especially these young men who are trying to get their education and play, athletics at the same time. Was super impressed by our defense. Was we really needed that game, that team to provide us with the opportunity to go out and try to get some pass rush. I said on another show, I feel like the football gods are listening. They actually was able to manufacture pressure from different places. Devontae Smith, I think, right now should be leading for the Biletnikoff Award, in my opinion. And last but not least, I've seen some fans pushing for us to be number one. Man, I'd rather stay number two. Let us stay number two. Keep them hungry. We don't need that number one. So like every time we go to number one, something bad happens. I let us stay number two. Let us keep fighting. Let them keep doubting Matt. Let them keep doubting the defense. Let them keep doubting us, baby. We coming either way it go. We'll get the just due when it's time. We don't need it right now. Let somebody else have it. Let Clemson or Ohio State. I see the media is trying to press Ohio State really big. Let them have it for right now. It'll come a time when we prove ourselves. What you think?
I agree with that. I mean, and that would be the mindset that Nick Saban takes anyway. Being able to kind of be under the radar, and then you strike when it's your time to strike. So that's definitely always the motivation that Saban brings when it comes to this team. And I know for a fact that, Mac Jones and these guys are not really listening to what's going on or what's being said in the media. Their focus is let's get better each and every day. And once again, I know Mississippi State, not necessarily the best team out there, but for Alabama to still pitch that shutout in a day and age where it's hard to pitch shutouts because of how advanced offenses are. But when fans left that stadium on Saturday, you could see a lot of the traditional fans smiling. They were going, I knew Saban still had it. Like I knew somewhere deep down in this defense, they would have the ability to still be able to pitch a shutout if it really wanted to do it.
Right, exactly, man. I appreciate you taking my call. I want to give a big shout out to my man, the Chad Whalen from SPH, from Huntsville, from Shine from Huntsville. And as always, man, we'll continue to support.
Absolutely, my man. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Absolutely. Good call there from Sean there. We take another call here on the show. You're live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
What's going on there, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good, man. Fresh off Mississippi State. Bama's got a bye week, but we don't rest here at TDA. We still working.
Here he is. Yeah, I'm just calling from Chickasaw, Alabama. Here, had a comment about the game here on Saturday. I really liked how our defense played. I'm still not. I'm still a little bit concerned about how loss of Jalen Waddle, but I like to see the shutout and all that. What are your thoughts on how we're going to do against LSU?
Thoughts on how Alabama's going to do against LSU? I think Alabama's got something to give LSU because they've been waiting on this game. This was the second game circled on the calendar after Georgia because we all remember last year after the loss what Ed Ogeron said in that locker room after that game. So those players know that. They're looking to go down to Tiger Stadium, give a little butt whooping there for LSU. I think there's no motivation needed. All the motivation, these players have it. I think these guys are locked in on LSU. This week they're getting healthy. They're getting rested up, but Bama's locked in on LSU.
Well, I like to hear that there, brother. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Roll Tide. Looking forward to the game next week. All right, there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate that call right there coming from Chickasaw, Alabama, I believe he said. Chickasaw, Alabama here calling in, giving us some love here on the show. But once again, 205-448-1358. But I'm going to call in to let your voice be heard here on the show. Now, before we get into grades right now, a small topic on Tua Tagovailoa, who made his first NFL start on Sunday for the Miami Dolphins at quarterback against the LA Rams. And to me, he had some good moments. He still has to improve. He still has to continue playing to make sure, continue to have, the hip look good and moving and mobility and things of that nature. But, he had some good moments. Of course, he had some receivers that dropped some passes. So maybe Miami got to continue to draft more receivers. But all in all, Tua had some good moments. It was great to see him get the first win of his NFL career. He talked about, getting hit for the first time by Aaron Donald and how he was able to bounce back up from that. And, of course, that was the main thing, right? That was the main thing Dolphin fans and you as Alabama fans were concerned about. Could his body take that first hit after he had not played competitively since the injury he took against State last season? So seeing him able to take that first hit, bounce back up, still play was a solid sign there. We take another call right now. You're live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hello?
You're live on In My Own Words.
Yo, man, this is crazy.
How you feeling?
Good.
What's on your mind right now?
I'm Clemson fan.
Clemson fan? We had a Clemson fan calling in there. I mean, you know you're doing something. You're getting different fans that are calling into the show. We got a Clemson fan there calling in. But to end my first thought there, happy to see Tua Tagovailoa doing well playing in that first NFL game. But now we got the grade segment here. After Mississippi State, we got the grades lined in. So Stevens Report, grades edition, following Mississippi State. So first and foremost, we look at Mac Jones. I'm giving Mac Jones an A for this week. He had the ankle bruise there, couldn't quite step in the throws the way he wanted to, but you see how he battles back. As I mentioned, mental toughness, mental fortitude, not letting that get the best of him. Still completed 24 for 31 passing for 291 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. Still had an offense that put up points on the board. So Mac Jones, an A from me. Looking at Devontae Smith, an A from me. 203 receiving yards for Smitty. He had 11 catches, 4 touchdowns. There is something about the state of Mississippi Devontae Smith hates. It's just something about the state of Mississippi. Because it's either Ole Miss or State. He's putting up big numbers against State. Once again, 11 catches for Smitty, 203 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. Had a whale of a performance. So Smitty, an A from me for Mr. 1/2 of second and 26. When you go on the offensive line, a B+ for the offensive line. I mean, pass protection was good, run blocking was good. The B+ penalties. Of the 10 penalties Alabama had in the game, 5 to 6 of them came from the offensive line. False start, pre-snap penalties. Whether it was Deontay Brown or Alex Leatherwood, somebody was getting called for a false start. Got to have those things cleaned up. Can't have those penalties because they really stall and hurt drives there. So B+ for Alabama offensive line. Got to clean those penalties. In the kicking game, how about an A+ for Will? Will Reichard's doing his thing. There is a legit argument to be made right now. Will Reichard for one of Alabama's MVPs this season? The legit argument there can be made for Will Reichard. He was 2 for 2 on field goals, including making a 40+ yarder against Mississippi State. He made all 5 of his extra points, and he even executed quite a few touchbacks on kickoffs in the matchup. So A+ there for one Will Reichard as he continues to grow in confidence in the kicking game. And last but not least, defensively, an A for the defense. Finally, a game where, as Alabama fans, you guys saw strong tackling, pressure to the quarterback, turnovers being forced, shutting them off the scoreboard, pitched a full shutout, allowing just 200 yards of total offense, 3.2 yards per play for Mississippi State. It was a smooth game for the most part by everyone. Daniel Wright didn't have a mistake in this game. Patrick Surtain II took a pick to the house. About time for Patty Surtain to get his pick 6 on. And while we are still waiting for the Dylan Moses moment, we're still waiting for the Dylan Moses moment for the most part. An A for the defense. It was able to finally have that moment where it could play big-time football. But before we take our next break here, we actually have a call in the queue. You are live on In My Own Words. What's going on? Live on In My Own Words, caller. You're on the show. You're live on the show. We can hear you. Well, we lost that caller, man. Oh, man, we lost that caller, man. But those are the grades there for the week. We got the A here for Mac Jones, the A for Devontae Smith, the B+ for the offensive line, the A for Will Reichard, and the A for with A+ for Will Reichard, and the A there for the Alabama defense. We take another break here on the show, but upon our return, we dive into a conversation on Will Reichard. The young man has fixed the kicking woes. Bama has finally got the kicker as the football gods have finally smiled on the Crimson Tide in terms of the kicking game. We discussed the sophomore leg, the sophomore booming leg, right after this.
T-Town Menswear in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we are back in from the break on the number one forum for Crimson Tide football news in my own words with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciating everybody for checking us out on today. Be sure to give that thumbs up give a like on the show, like the show up, hit that subscribe button, turn on all of those notifications so that way you can have the best in news, notes, updates, and alerts here on your Crimson Tide. But before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com. Make us your plug, your one-stop shop for all of your Alabama clothing needs. If you are feeling the I Love Hearing Touchdown Alabama shirt, the Let Them Play shirts, We Want Football shirts, hoodies galore, we got you right here. TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com, showing that support for Coach Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But we look at now Will Reichard, Alabama sophomore kicker Will Reichard. And for the longest of time, well, since the 2012 season when Alabama had Jeremy Shelley, so about 7-8 years, just about. Since then, you know, you as Alabama fans have been doing a lot of different things to ease the pain or console yourselves, I should say, when it comes to field goal kicking. For some of you guys, y'all would literally, you know, cuss and say swear words under your breath or out loud. For some of you, it would be drink to ease the pain. For some of you, it would be walk out the room when the kicker is about to come up. And for some of you, it would be, you know what, we're just going to say this off-the-wall chant. I remember a friend of mine, her and her son, and this was back when Adam Griffith was the field goal kicker. So her and her son would be at Bryant-Denny, and every time Adam Griffith would come up, she would say a chant, and it went, "It's only just an extra point. It's only just an extra point. It's only just an extra point." And every time she would say that chant, Adam Griffith would make the field goal. And it got to a point where it was the LSU game in 2015, and he was up for a 50-yard attempt. And everybody in her area, in her section, was looking at her going, "Say the chant, Brenda. Brenda, say the chant." And she didn't want to say it. And she goes, "It's only just an extra point. It's only just an extra point." And Adam Griffith made the 50-yard field goal, and the folks went crazy at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So for the longest of time, U.S. fans have resorted to unorthodox ways to ease your pain in the kicking game. Well, now with Will Reichard, you don't have to do that anymore. With Will Reichard, you can put the chants down, you can stop the cussing, you can stop the drinking. With Will Reichard, he is out here being a dominant, consistently positive kicker. This has been Alabama's best leg as a field goal kicker since Shelley in 2012. And Reichard so far this season, 8 of 8 on field goal attempts. He's made all 37 of his extra points, and he's making kicks in between 20 and 29 yards, 30 and 39 yards, 40 and 49 yards, 50-plus yards. You put the ball anywhere for Reichard to kick, he is making these kicks. And he told our own Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, back when he was at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game prior to coming in the Tide's 2019 class, he told our own Justin Smith that she was going to be the one to end the kicking woes, to end the kicking problem, to get Alabama better in that area. And he came in with a lot of confidence. Of course, he had the hip flexor injury against Southern Mississippi. Alabama rushed him back for the Tennessee game when he was not ready. He wasn't 100% healed up, and he ended up missing the remainder of the season to get healthy. But the concern for a lot of people, myself included, was, yes, he would be physically healthy, but what would the mental psyche for Reichard be like? How would his mental psyche be? Would he be able to go out there, lock in, focus, and make field goals consistently? And to my pleasure, he's been able to do it, and he's been able to do it extremely well. And I remember after the Tennessee game, I got a chance to speak with Coach Saban about this matter, and my question to Coach was, how big or how much does a healthy Will Reichard mean to this team? And Saban said, well, you have no idea how comforting it is to be able to make a field goal. You don't know how comforting it is to have a guy that you can call on to go out there to make a kick no matter what the yardage is, and he goes out there and confidently makes the kick. I mean, you already feel bad enough when you can't score the touchdown. You're already feeling bad enough when you don't get the 6 points, and then kicker goes out there and misses the field goal, and it basically demoralizes you. It basically has you feeling even worse because you came away with no points. So having Will out there healthy is a serious weapon for us. It gets us even more confidence because we know with him out there, he's going to make those kicks, and we're just happy to see him continuing to make that growth. So it's been comforting for Nick Saban. It's been comforting for the team. It's been comforting for U.S. fans. It's been a pleasure for me to watch here in the media as Reichard goes out there, makes the kicks. He gets pumped up. You guys get pumped up. The team gets pumped up. I mean, there's a legitimate argument you can make for him being an MVP. There's a legit argument. I mean, remember in 2014 when J.K. Scott, punting-wise, was flipping the field the way he was doing it, and people were saying there could be a legitimate argument for J.K. Scott for MVP because of the way he was controlling field position? The self-same things can be said in the offensive kicking game for Will Reichard. There's an argument for him to be, or a case for him to be, an MVP for the Crimson Tide. Somebody in the chat line even said, let's get a statue raised in honor of Will Reichard. I mean, I'm down. I wouldn't mind a statue being raised in honor of Will Reichard. I mean, hopefully he even gets a shot to be in the running for the Groza Award, this year, the honor that goes to the nation's top place kicker. But big ups there to Will Reichard doing his thing as far as field goal kicking is concerned. But you want the best of news, notes, information, and coverage here on your Crimson Tide, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very simple and easy to do this. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama magazine app. You can download it from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you have the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you right here, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. We have you right here. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Wednesday continuing the conversation that is Tide football. Once again, Bama fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. And also pick up that 4-finger bling necklace courtesy of WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That is WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That link will be found in the description as well. But husbands love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, school back in. Still do those things legitimately now to not be bored. Be sure to get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, spend in my own words.